The night market was full of noise and shadows. Strange lights burned above wooden stalls, and smoke from cooking fires drifted into the air. Traders shouted in many alien tongues. The market smelled of metal, sweat, and hunger in the middle. Of the crowd, a woman stood alone. Her skin was pale silver, her eyes wide and tired. She was not just any alien, she was a mother. Her child hid behind her legs, small and thin, his tiny hands clutching her torn cloth dress. His stomach growled. He had not eaten for 2 days. The mother's heart ached. She had searched every corner of the market. No one would give her food. Without payment, she had nothing left to sell. Nothing except herself. She whispered to her child, "Stay here. Do not move." The boy looked at her with frightened eyes, but he obeyed. The mother stepped forward into the crowd. Traders watched her with greedy eyes. Everyone knew what a desperate woman in the market meant. She raised her voice, though it trembled. "I offer myself," she said. "In exchange, food for my child." The crowd fell silent for a moment. Then whispers spread quickly. "She is selling herself. Her kind is rare. Her body could bring a high price. She is desperate. She will accept anything." The mother kept her chin high, but inside, shame burned like fire. She was ready to give up her freedom, ready to give up her dignity. Only her child could survive. One by one, buyers stepped closer. A thick alien with 4 arms held out a bag of dry roots. "Enough food for a week," he said with a grin. "You will work for me." Another, tall and scaled, hissed, "I will pay with coins. You will obey, or your child will starve." The mother's hands shook. Every offer felt like a chain wrapping around her neck. Yet, what choice did she have? She opened her mouth too. Answer when a new figure appeared. From the shadows, a human stepped forward. He was tall, wearing a dark coat that covered him from the dust of travel. His face was stern, but his eyes were different. They did not shine with hunger or greed. They looked calm, quiet. The crowd muttered. Humans were rare in this part of the galaxy. Most came to trade weapons, not buy slaves. The man looked at the mother. Then he looked at her child. He said nothing at first, but he reached into his coat and pulled out a small pack of food rations. He held it out. The mother's breath caught. Real food, enough to fill her boy's stomach. She reached for it, but stopped. Nothing in the market was free. She whispered, "What do you want? For this?" The man's voice was low. "Come with me." Gasps rose from the crowd. The other buyers scowled. Some laughed. "The human wants her." One shouted, "He pays nothing." But the man placed a strip of glowing credits on the trader's table, more than anyone had offered. Silence fell again. No one dared to challenge him now. The mother felt her knees weaken. She had expected chains, whips, and commands. She had expected to be treated as property. But this man, he bought her and gave food to her child without a single cruel word. She wanted to thank him, but fear held her tongue. She gathered her child into her arms, clutching the food, and followed the human out of the market. Behind them, the traders whispered, "Why did he pay so much? What will he do with her?" The mother heard those words and trembled inside. She told herself she did not care. Her child would eat tonight. That was all that mattered. But as they walked into the dark streets, away from the lights and the noise, she looked at the man's back. His shoulders carried a weight, as if he carried pain no one else could see. She wondered, who is this human? Why did he choose me? Her child ate hungrily, crumbs falling from his small mouth. The mother's eyes filled with tears of relief. For now, her son was safe. But deep in her chest, another fear grew stronger. What price would she pay for this kindness? What did the human really want? The night was quiet, but her heart was loud. The sale was complete. Her life was no longer her own, yet she could not escape the strange thought that echoed in her mind. Perhaps the human had not bought her for hunger or power. Perhaps he bought her for something else. She did not know the answer. Not yet. But she would soon. The road out of the market was dark and silent. The mother carried her child, and the human walked ahead with steady steps. His coat brushed the dust, his boots leaving prints on the stone ground. He never looked back. The mother's heart raced. Every step felt heavy. She had sold herself. She belonged to him now. She expected him to show his true face, so cruel, demanding, maybe violent. That was how buyers always were. But the man said nothing. He led them through broken alleys, past walls painted with old signs no one could read anymore. At last, they reached the edge of the city, where a metal ship stood waiting in silence. It was small, old, and scratched by many journeys. But to the mother, it looked like freedom and danger at the same time. The man pressed a button on his wrist. The ship's door opened with a hiss. Warm light spilled out. Inside, he said, the mother tightened her arms around her child. Her body shook. She whispered to herself, "This is the moment. Once we enter, there is no escape." Still, she stepped forward. The boy clutched her neck, staring with wide, hungry eyes at the light inside. The ship smelled of metal, oil, and faint smoke. It was simple but clean. There were no chains, no cages. Only chairs, controls, and a table with sealed food packs stacked neatly. The human dropped his coat on a chair and opened one of the packs. He handed it directly to the child. "Eat," he said. The boy snatched it with both hands. He tore it open with his teeth and ate fast, crumbs falling across the floor. The mother gasped softly. She had expected the human to scold him for greed, but instead the man knelt down. He gently wiped the boy's chin with a cloth, almost like a father. The mother stared. Confusion burned inside her. This was not how a master treated a slave. "Why?" she whispered before she could stop herself. "Why are you feeding him?" First, the man did not look at her. His voice was quiet, almost broken. "Because he is a child. Children should not starve." The words struck her heart. For a moment, she forgot her fear. She watched him carefully, but his face gave nothing away. His eyes, however, carried shadows. Shadows of pain, that night. The ship rose into the sky, leaving the market behind. Through the window, the mother saw the desert shrink into a blur of red sand. Her child slept with food still in his hands, his breath finally peaceful. The mother sat near the wall, hugging her knees. The human sat across from her, checking the controls. The silence between them grew heavy. At last, she whispered, "What do you want from me?" The human froze for a moment. Then he leaned back in his chair. His eyes were tired, his jaw tight. He answered slowly, "Nothing." The mother frowned. "Nothing. You bought me. You gave food. No one gives without taking." He turned his face toward the dark window. The stars reflected in his eyes. "I did not buy you to own you. I bought you to save you." Her breath caught. The words were too strange, too dangerous. "Save her? Why?" She pressed, her voice sharper. "Why me? Why us?" The man's hands gripped the armrest. His knuckles turned white. For a long time, he said nothing. Then, in a voice so soft she almost did not hear, he whispered, "Because I lost someone once. A mother and child. I failed them. I will not fail again." The mother's chest tightened. She felt his pain, though he tried to hide it. He carried a wound deeper than any she had ever known. Before she could speak, the ship alarm beeped. A red light flashed. The man rose quickly, pressing buttons. "What is it?" she asked, fear rising in her throat. He answered with a hard voice now, the softness gone. "A signal. Someone followed us. The market does not let property escape." Her blood turned cold. She thought of the hunters, the ones who would drag her back in chains and take her child away forever. The human strapped a weapon to his side. He looked at her with sharp eyes. "Stay quiet. Protect your boy. Whatever happens, do not open that door." She clutched her sleeping child tightly, her heart pounding like drums. For the first time since the sale, she was not afraid of the human. She was afraid of losing him. The ship drifted into dark space. The red light still blinked. Somewhere behind them, shadows moved closer. The mother did not know the human's full secret. Not yet, but she could feel one truth. He had saved her. Not for power, not for hunger, but for something far more dangerous. The ship floated in silence, far from the burning lights of the market. Inside, the small boy slept deeply, his stomach finally full. The mother sat beside him, her silver hand brushing his hair. For the first time in days, her child looked safe. Yet, her own heart was restless. Across the cabin, the human worked on a broken panel. Sparks jumped from his tools. His face was calm, but his hands trembled as if carrying a heavy weight. The mother watched him secretly, searching for answers. He was not like the others. He had not touched her, not ordered her, not even looked at her with hunger. Instead, he fed her son first, cared for him like his own blood. Still, fear whispered inside her. What does he want? Why risk so much for me? When the boy stirred in his sleep, the human glanced back. For a moment, something soft crossed his face. His eyes almost shone. Then he looked away, pretending to be busy. The mother caught that flicker. It was not greed. It was something else. The next day, the boy woke and wandered near the ship's controls. The human crouched down to his height, showing him blinking. Buttons. "This one makes light. This one makes sound," he explained in slow words. The boy giggled when the console beeped. The sound was small, but it was laughter, the first true laughter since his hunger began. The mother's chest tightened. She had thought her son would never laugh again. She wanted to pull him away, afraid of trouble. But the boy touched the human's hand with tiny fingers and repeated softly, "Light." The human froze. His throat moved, as if swallowing pain. Then, slowly, he smiled. The mother stared in silence. That smile was not the smile of a master. It was the smile of someone who remembered what it meant to be a parent. Later, when the boy slept again, the mother whispered to the human, "You treat him as if he is your own." Why, he didn't look at her. His voice was heavy. "Because once, I had a son and a wife." The words cut the air like a knife. The mother felt her blood chill. She waited, but he said no more. His eyes stayed fixed on the stars outside, hiding secrets too painful to share. The mother's heart, once filled with fear, now filled with something stranger. Respect. Maybe even pity. But peace never lasted long. That night, the ship alarm beeped. Again, the human checked the scanner. His jaw tightened. "Hunters," he said. The mother's stomach dropped. "They found us." He nodded. "They won't stop. To them, you are property. To me, you are not, but they will not understand." Her hand shook. "Then leave me. Take him, take my son and run. They only want me." The human turned sharply, his eyes burning. "No, I will not leave you. Both of you stay together. That is how family should be." Family. The word echoed in her chest. She had not heard it in so long hours past. The hunters did not attack, but their signal stayed on the scanner. Always behind, always following in the quiet, the mother thought. Of escape, she could take her son, find a way to slip away in the night. If she left, maybe the human would be safe. But when she looked at him, repairing the ship despite his shaking hands, she felt torn. He had risked everything. He had fed her child before himself. He had given without asking. Could she really leave him? Her son woke again and climbed into the human's lap without fear. The boy pointed at the stars outside the window.
Mother,
He said in broken human words. The cabin froze. The human's eyes widened. His lips parted, but no sound came. For a moment, he looked like a man stabbed through the heart. Then he closed his eyes, pressing the boy gently against his chest. The mother covered her mouth, stunned. Her child had given him a name he had lost long ago, and the human did not correct him. He held the boy tightly as if afraid the child might vanish if he let go. Something deep inside the mother shifted. Fear melted into something warmer, something dangerous. Trust, but trust was not safety. That same night, the scanners beeped louder. A fleet signal closer than before. The human armed his blaster. He looked at the mother, his voice firm. They will come soon. If I fall, you take him and run. Promise me. The mother shook her head, tears burning in her eyes. No. If you fight, I fight too. You saved us. I will not let you die alone. The human stared at her, surprised. Then slowly, he nodded. For the first time, they were not master and slave, not buyer and sold. They were partners. Bound not by chains, but by choice. The stars outside the ship were cold and endless, but danger was close. On the scanner, red dots flashed, hunters spreading wide, circling like wolves around prey. The human sat at the controls, his jaw tight, his eyes sharp. The mother stood behind him, holding her child close. Her chest burned with fear. She had thought escape was possible, but the hunters had followed them through space. They would not stop. The ship shook as engines roared to life. The human muttered, "Hold on." The boy clung to his mother's neck as the ship shot forward, stars blurring into streaks of white. Alarms screamed. The hunters were closing in. Fast, one of the hunters' ships fired first. A bolt of red energy burned past their window. The mother gasped, covering her child's eyes. The human twisted the controls, spinning the ship hard. The engine groaned, metal plates rattling. He flew low through a belt of shattered asteroids. Huge rocks drifted in silence, sharp as knives. "They'll never follow us in here," he said. But he was wrong. A shadow moved behind them, another hunter ship entering the asteroid field, its engines burning bright. Then another. Then two more. The mother's breath caught. They are not afraid of the rocks. The human's hands moved fast, guiding the ship between spinning boulders. Every second felt like death waiting in silence. A hunter ship fired again. This time the blast scraped across the hull. The cabin shook. Lights flickered. Sparks fell from the ceiling. The boy cried, clutching his mother's dress. She whispered, She, we are safe." But inside, her heart screamed. The human gritted his teeth. His voice was steady but heavy. "They don't want to destroy you. They want to capture you. That means they'll aim for our engines." The mother held tighter to her son. "Then what can we do?" The human's eyes narrowed. "We run, and we fight if we must." His fingers pressed a hidden switch. Small panels opened under the ship, revealing weapons. The mother gasped. She had not known this old ship carried guns. The hunters closed in. Their signals blinked brighter on the scanner. The human whispered, "Not today." Then he fired. Bolts of blue energy shot from their ship, striking one of the hunters. It exploded in silence, fire turning to dust among the stars. The boy stopped crying, his eyes wide, watching the flames outside the window. The mother whispered, half to herself, "He is not just a traveler. He is a fighter." But the battle was far from over. 3 hunters remained, and they were faster. They circled like predators, cutting off escape routes. The humans spun the ship, weaving through asteroids, firing again and again. The mother braced against the wall, holding her son tightly. Every jolt, every strike, felt like the end. Yet she could not look away from the human. His focus was sharp, his body tense, but his movements were calm like a man who had flown through war before. One hunter slipped close, aiming at their engines. The human cursed under his breath. He pulled a lever, flipping the ship upside down. A blast roared past, missing by inches. The mother's stomach lurched, her heart pounding. She had never known a human could fight like this. Still, the hunters pressed on. Their voices hissed through the radio. "Return the slave, and we let you live. Give us the alien mother." The boy is useless. The mother froze. Her eyes, filled with tears, they did not even see her son as a life, just a shadow. But the human's voice thundered back, strong and fierce. "She is not yours. She is not anyone's. If you want her, come and take her." The hunters did exactly that. 2 ships rushed forward at once, trapping them in crossfire. Red bolts tore across the dark, striking again and again. The cabin shook violently. Alarms screamed louder. The human shouted, "Hold him tight." The mother wrapped her arms around her son, shielding him with her own body. Her eyes squeezed shut. She prayed silently, "If I must die, let him live." The human fired back with everything he had. One hunter's ship burst into flames, spinning out of control. The second clipped an asteroid and broke apart into shards. But the victory came at a price. Their own ship jolted hard, smoke rising from the side. Warning lights blinked red. The human slammed his hand on the controls. "Engines failing. We won't last long." The mother's voice shook. "What now?" He turned to her, his face pale, but his eyes burning. "Now we run on faith." He pulled the ship into a steep dive, heading straight for a giant planet covered in storm clouds. The surface below glowed with lightning. The mother gasped. "You'll kill us." His voice was steady. "No, I'll save us. Trust me." The storm swallowed the ship. Lightning cracked across the sky, white fire flashing against endless black clouds. The mother held her child, her arms shaking as the ship dove deeper. The engines roared, struggling against the storm's pull. The human's face glowed in the flickering light. Sweat rolled down his cheek, but his eyes stayed sharp. He guided the ship lower, lower, until finally the storm broke for a moment. A dark valley appeared, below jagged rocks and rivers of glowing fire. The ship struck the ground hard. Metal screamed, sparks burst. Then silence. The mother gasped for air, clutching her son. He whimpered, but was alive. The human coughed, blood on his lip. We're down." He tried to stand, but pain bent his body. The mother rushed to him. "You're hurt." But before she could touch him, the alarm blared again. The hunters through the broken window. Lights appeared above the clouds. One ship had followed them into the storm. Its shadow circled like a hawk, searching. The mother's chest tightened. "They're coming." The human pulled himself up, gripping the wall for balance. His voice was low, fierce. "Then we fight, not for freedom, for family." Minutes later, the hunter ship landed nearby. The valley shook as its engines burned the ground. The mother hid with her child behind a rock. The human crouched beside them, his blaster ready. His breathing was heavy, his wounds still bleeding. The ship's door hissed open. Figures stepped out tall, armored, armed with glowing rifles. Their leader shouted, "Return the mother, or burn with her." The mother's body trembled. She knew she was the prize. But when she looked at her son's small face, when she felt the human's hand steady against her arm, fear changed into fire. She whispered, "I will not go back. Not now, not ever." The human's eyes met hers. For the first time, there was no wall between them, only trust. The hunters advanced. The leader raised his weapon. The human stood, blaster in hand. "You will not take her." They fired. Red blasts cut through the storm air. The human rolled, firing back. One hunter fell, armor sparking. Another dropped with a cry. The mother covered her child, heart racing. She had never seen such courage, one man standing against many. But the hunters pushed closer. A blast grazed the human's arm. He staggered, blood spreading across his sleeve. The mother felt a scream rise in her throat. She could not just hide. Not anymore. Her eyes fell on a broken piece of metal near the ground, a sharp fragment from their ship. She grabbed it, her hands trembling, and rose. The hunters laughed when they saw her. A slave thinks she can fight, but the mother did not stop. She charged at the nearest hunter, striking his leg with all her strength. Sparks flew as the blade cut through his armor. The hunter roared, falling to one knee. The human turned in shock, but also in pride. Together, side by side, they fought. The battle was chaos. The human fired with deadly aim, his movements precise despite his wounds. The mother struck with wild fury, every swing driven by her son's life. The hunters were strong, but they did not expect resistance from both. Step by step, they were pushed back. Still, the cost was high. The human strength was fading. Blood soaked his coat. His blaster grew hot in his hand. At last, the leader stepped forward. His armor was black, his eyes burning red. He lifted a heavy rifle and aimed at the child. The mother screamed, "No." She threw herself in front of her son. The shot never came. The human had leaped between them, his body taking the blast. He fell hard, his blaster clattering across the rocks. The mother's heart shattered. She dropped beside him, her hands shaking. "No, no. Stay with me." The human's breath was shallow. His eyes barely opened. "Protect him," he whispered. Tears burned her face, but when she looked up, the hunter still stood, weapons raised. Her child sobbed behind her. The man who saved them was broken at her side. Something inside her snapped. She rose, holding the sharp metal again. Her voice shook, but her eyes burned like fire. "You will not take my son. You will not take him from me or from the man who gave everything for us." The storm thundered above, lightning striking the rocks. The hunters hesitated. The mother stood tall, no longer weak, no longer afraid. The storm raged above, lightning burning across the sky. But inside the valley, the real storm was human hearts. The human lay on the ground, blood staining the rocks, his breath weak. His blaster was out of reach. His eyes were open, but fading, searching only for the boy. The child sobbed quietly, holding his mother's dress, whispering, "Father, Father." Hunters surrounded them. Their leader's voice was cold, sharp like metal. "Give us the mother, and we will spare the child. The human is already dying. Surrender, and this ends now." The mother's whole body shook. The broken blade in her hand was slick with blood. Her chest burned with fear and rage. She looked at her son, his small face wet with tears. His tiny arms wrapped around her. It was all she had left. Then she looked at the human bleeding, broken, yet still watching her with eyes full of fire. He had risked everything, not for power, not for wealth, but for her and her child. Her heart screamed inside. If I surrender, my son lives. If I fight, we may all die. What is the right choice? The hunters stepped closer, their boots crushing the rocks. The leader raised his hand. Choose now. Your time is finished. The mother closed her eyes. She remembered the market, her shame, her hunger, the moment she had sold herself. She remembered the human's voice when he fed her son. Children should not starve. Her eyes opened again, no longer soft, no longer afraid. She rose to her feet, standing tall even with the storm's wind tearing her dress. She pushed her child gently behind her. Her voice was steady, though her hands trembled. If you want me, you will face me first. The hunters laughed, cruel and harsh. You are nothing. A weak mother, a slave. Do you think you can fight us, but the humans? Broken voice cut through the storm. His words were slow, each one heavy with pain. She is not weak. She is stronger than you will ever be. The mother's eyes filled with tears, but also with strength. The hunters raised their rifles. She raised her broken blade. Before the first shot, she whispered to her son, "Stay low. Do not move." The boy nodded, his small face hard with fear, but also with trust. Then the battle began. Bolts of red light filled the air. The mother ran forward, dodging between the rocks. Her blade struck one hunter's arm, sparks flying. A toe. He fell back, cursing. Not another hunter swung his rifle at her head. She ducked, slamming the blade upward, tearing his armor. He collapsed, groaning. The leader fired directly at her. She leaped behind a rock, the blast burning the stone to ash. Her chest pounded, but she rose again. She was not fighting for herself. She was fighting for her child, for the human who had given his last breath to protect them. Every strike, every step was no longer weakness. It was fury. It was love. But the hunters were many. Step by step, they pushed her back. Her blade grew heavy. Her arms burned. At last, the leader caught her wrist. His grip was iron, his face twisted with rage. "You cannot win," he hissed. "You belong to us. Surrender, and we may spare your child." Her knees buckled. Her body screamed with pain. For a moment, she almost believed him, almost gave up. But then she heard a small sound. Mother. Her son's voice, soft, full of faith. She looked back. He was not crying now. He was watching her with wide, trusting eyes, believing she was strong enough, believing she could protect him. Something exploded inside her. With a scream, she tore her wrist free and drove the blade deep into the leader's armor. He staggered back, roaring. Sparks burst from his chest plate. The hunters froze. Their leader fell to his knees, his weapon clattering to the ground. The mother stood over him, blade shaking in her hand. Her voice was hoarse but unbroken. "I do not belong to you, Art. I do not belong to anyone. I am a mother, and I choose to fight." The hunters looked at each other. Some stepped back. The storm howled above, lightning crashing across the sky, as if the planet itself roared with her. One by one, the hunters began to retreat. Without their leader's strength, their courage crumbled. Soon, only silence remained, broken by thunder. The mother dropped the blade, her whole body trembling. She fell to her knees beside the human. His breath was shallow, his eyes half closed. "You fought them," he whispered. A faint smile touched his lips. "I told you, you were strong." Her tears fell on his chest. She grabbed his hand, pressing it to her heart. "Stay with me, please. Do not leave us now." The boy crawled forward, clutching the human's other hand. "Father, don't go." The storm rumbled as if answering the child's plea. The valley was silent now. The hunters were gone, their ship abandoned, their leader broken. The storm above had grown softer, thunder rolling in the distance like fading drums. But inside the wrecked human ship, the real storm remained. The mother knelt beside the human, her silver hands pressed against his chest, trying to stop the bleeding. His breath came in shallow gasps, his face pale in the flickering light. The boy sat close, holding his hand, whispering, "Father, don't go." The mother's heart felt like it would tear apart. She had fought so hard, but if he died now, victory would taste like ash. "No," she whispered fiercely, tears burning her cheeks. "You will not leave us, not after all you gave." The human opened his eyes slowly. Pain filled them, but also warmth. He looked at her and the boy with something stronger than words. You are safe," he whispered. "That is enough." She shook her head, pressing harder on his wound. "Safe without you is not safe at all." The boy began to cry again. His tiny voice trembled. "Mother, fix him, please." The mother's hands shook. She had no medicine, no training, only determination. But then her eyes fell on the hunter's abandoned ship. Supplies, weapons, maybe even healing packs. Her body ached, her spirit nearly broken, but she forced herself to rise. She looked at the human, then at her son. "Stay with him," she said, firmly. "Do not let him close his eyes." The boy nodded, clutching the man's hand tighter. The mother ran through the valley, the storm's wind pushing against her. She reached the hunter's ship and forced the door open. Inside, the stench of metal and blood filled the air. But scattered on the floor were healing kit's devices glowing faintly with green light. She grabbed one and raced back, her feet pounding across the rocks. The human was weaker now. His eyes half closed, his lips whispering words she could barely hear. "Failed before, not again." The mother dropped to her knees and pressed the healing device to his wound. The pack hissed, releasing a glow that spread across his chest. The bleeding slowed, his breathing steadied. The boy gasped. "It's working." The mother held her breath, praying to every star in the sky. Slowly, the human's eyes opened wider. He looked at her, at the boy, and for the first time since the market. His face was not lined with pain, but with relief. "You saved me," he whispered. The mother's tears fell freely now. "No, you saved us first. This is only returning what was given." They stayed there for hours, waiting as the storm passed. The boy finally fell asleep in the human's arms, safe at last. The mother sat close, leaning against him, exhaustion pulling at her bones. When the sky cleared, the valley glowed under strange sunlight. The hunter's ship still worked, its engines humming faintly. The human rose slowly, weak but alive. He looked at the mother and child. "If we take that ship, we can leave this place, start over. Somewhere the market cannot find us." The mother stared at him, disbelief in her eyes. "You mean together?" He nodded. "Together, not as property, not as debt. As family." The words struck her heart like lightning. She had sold herself once, for food, for survival. But this man had bought her with something no market could trade: love. She touched his hand, her silver fingers trembling. "Then let us begin." The three of them boarded the hunter ship. The human took the pilot's seat, the mother beside him, the boy between them. The engines roared, lifting them into the sky as they rose above the storm clouds. The mother looked down at the broken valley, a place where she had been a slave, where she had almost surrendered hope. Now it was behind her. Ahead lay stars. The boy pressed his head against her shoulder, whispering sleepily, "We're a family now, the humans." Hand found hers on the controls, warm despite his wounds. "Yes," he said softly. "We are." Ending scene emotional plus unique. The ship soared higher, leaving the storm planet behind. The stars opened wide before them, endless and bright. The mother closed her eyes, holding her son close. The human's voice lingered in her ears. Children should not starve, but now she knew the truth. Love was stronger than hunger. Love was stronger than fear. She had sold herself once to save her child. But what the human had given in return was something greater: freedom, hope, and a family that could never be bought or sold. Together, they vanished into the stars. Not alien and human, not slave and master, but mother, child, and father. A new family.